Hey, Gustav Iden here, Norwegian triathlete. I recently won the Daytona PTO Championship, and you're listening to the Physical Performance Podcast Show. Almost Physical Performance Show, not podcast. Okay. I will manage. Hey, Gustav Iden here, Norwegian triathlete. I recently won the PTO Championship in Daytona, and you're listening to the Physical Performance Show.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, brought to you by Endure IQ's online courses around all things endurance performance, low carbohydrate, high fat, training fundamentals, and heat strategies, and the Physical Performance Show's Learn-Ins membership. I'm Brad Beer, sports physiotherapist and exercise scientist by trade and training, and founder of Pogo Physio. Each week, we'll bring you the latest and greatest information and inspiration designed to help you perform at your physical best. Of course, we do this across a range of different episodes, interest editions, coaches' corners, expert editions, and featured performers. And on this week's episode 249, the final featured performer episode for the 2020 calendar year, you'll enjoy the highs, lows, and learnings from Gustav Iden. Gustav Iden is the 70.3 2019 Triathlon World Champion. And just a matter of several weeks ago, Gustav Iden took the spoils and victory in what was arguably the most stacked and deep triathlon long course field in the history of the sport by taking out the PTO Championships at Challenge Daytona. Gustav hails from Bergen in Norway, where he trains alongside the Norwegian powerhouse team, including prior featured guest, episode 117, with training buddy Kristian Blummenfelt, and Triathlon Norway head coach and sports director of the Norwegian Triathlon Federation, Arild Tveiten, who he featured on episode 224 on a Coach's Corner edition. In addition to Gustav's success across the 70.3 and long course world of triathlon, Gustav was also part of the historic Norwegian Podium Clean Sweep at the World Triathlon Series leg held in Bermuda in 2019, where he took out third place. In 2019, Gustav was also fourth across the line in the Tokyo Olympic test event. And in this episode, you'll hear Gustav outline his top 3 tips for each of the disciplines of triathlon, swim, bike, and run. Gustav shares why winning is truly a choice, along with an incredible story about the Taiwanese hat that he picked up off the side of the road in Thailand that has gone on to create quite a stir in Taiwan, and also landing Gustav a great commercial partner in Giant Bicycles. Gustav shares his training philosophy around intensity control and volume, talks about pre-race nerves, survives the physical performance round, and issues a fantastic physical challenge for the week. So get set for the highs, lows, and learn-ins of this week's featured performer, 2019 70.3 World Triathlon Champion, and now 2020 PTO Championships Challenge Daytona Champion, Gustav Iden. Gustav Iden, just off the back of an incredible victory in the Challenge Daytona Triathlon, where you just took command of the race and proved, as per your Instagram gallery, that you are not a one-hit wonder. Welcome to the Physical Performance Show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the great introduction. Yeah, I had a good win there, and I'm really happy with my performance, but I wouldn't exactly say that I took charge of the race. I survived until the end of the run, and then I managed to beat the others. But I wouldn't say I took charge.
Well, took charge in the run. I mean, he came out of that transition area onto the run circa 45 seconds in the rear, just smoothly ran to the front and stayed there. So you said something, Gustav, before we started to record, and when I said congratulations, you said you weren't impressed by it, but you're really happy by your win. Explain that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I felt like the performance wasn't the greatest performance I had ever. I actually thought I could run better and run faster, but I think I kind of underestimated that bike course. That bike course was so brutal. I think it's hard for the viewers to understand just exactly how hard it was to survive out on a bike, to not leave the position. The glutes are like really cramping up, even though I'm fairly flexible in my, at least in my rear or leg region, not too much in my upper body, but I'm really flexible, really. But I still was struggling really much on that bike. I'm not impressed by how I ran, like time-wise, but it was still good.
Well, it was very impressive and very good, and good enough to absolutely take the win against arguably one of the, if not the most stacked field in male triathlon history. The bike course, 80 kilometres around and round the Daytona Raceway. I saw some of Sam Appleton, Australian triathlete starter who came home in 6th. Precision Hydration, one of his sponsors, published it. His normalised power for the bike was, I think, 305 watts for 80 kilometres, which is quite the impressive ride. What was some of your data from the bike there, Gustav?
I set a new all-time record for my 90 minutes bike in power, and I think it was 325, which was like pretty spot on for what I reckon I could push before the race. So my coach was like, between 320 and 330, I think that's where our target is. And because, of course, you have to run fast afterwards. So when I saw some extremely fast guys in the start was pushing, I guess, over 400 watts to overpass me, and I tried some couple of minutes to hang on, and I said, no, Gustav, you're not strong enough. You have to relax. You can't really push this power already. So then I was pretty stressed on the start of the bike, because if that was the level the other was holding, like 380, maybe 400 in the start, then I had absolutely no chance of winning this race. Luckily, they kind of faded a bit off at the end of the bike, but yeah, I was kind of stressed on the start of the bike.
Your position on the bike in the time trial position, Gustav's a beautiful position. What would you say, little early challenge here, the top 3 time trial tips you'd give listeners, those that are wanting to adopt a good time trial position? Gustav Iden's top 3 time trial tips coming your way.
I would think have a clear visual on how you're actually sitting. I know a lot of people who think they're pretty like down low with their head and they think they're sitting good, but they have absolutely no visual on how they're actually positioning themselves. So to get some good photos, preferably outside, because you're not sitting the same indoors. So good outdoors photos of how you're riding. I think that's my main tip. Number 2, maybe try to feel how the wind is affecting your body. If you're good, you don't really feel the wind going over your back. So if you have like a tight suit and you position your head around, you can kind of feel how the wind is going over your body. And you want to not have like this hard stream of air going onto the body. You want kind of like a smooth wind. So if you just think during riding that the wind should release you, then it's good to only have the focus on it. Then it automatically works better with it. And number 3, I guess, is work on your flexibility. Yeah, lower back flexibility.
They're fantastic, Gustav. Get a visual, preferably outdoor photos. Feel how the wind is affecting your body, number 2. And then the 3rd thing is work on flexibility, particularly lower back. Gustav, you mentioned your coach set you a target for the bike in terms of power output for the Challenge Daytona race. Coach Arild Tveiten, who has been a very popular Coach's Corner featured guest of this show. We've heard Arild's training philosophies, but what would you say, Gustav, 2019 70.3 world champion, what would you say is your training philosophy?
Me and my coach, we are very in sync of how we're thinking training. And I have not only Arild, I have a team of coaches. So both Arild, my brother, and another guy, Olav Alexander, and my swim coach, Alexander. We have like a full team of coaches, and we are very in sync of how we're thinking training. One of the main thing, or two of the main things, is intensity control and volume. So to be able to perform at that volume we are doing and stay injury free, it's absolutely crucial to have the correct intensity. If you do too hard, we will not be able to do our volume. So I think like these two are closely together, and that's kind of like overall things: intensity control and volume.
And you're a very good follow on Strava, Gustav, because you make your training public there. So if people want to get a feel for the volume and the intensity control, they can follow along there. You're very wise for such a young athlete, 24 years of age. You've got a real wisdom and maturity about you that you often don't see. Where do you think that comes from?
I always looked myself as a smart person. I'm not sure if like it's correct in every situation, but like in training, I am quite smart actually. So I feel like that's a good thing if you want to perform in high performance sports. I feel like athletes get a bad rap of being stupid people, just doing the training and nothing else. But it's actually really challenging to become, at least in triathlon, a top triathlete. So yeah, I feel I'm kind of smart when it comes to training. So the observation is kind of right, I guess.
Well, the results are speaking for themselves regarding your approach, your training philosophy, etc. Interesting about your comment there about athletes getting a bad rap. From my line of work, I always think that the top performers are incredibly intelligent. And of course, intelligence is so multifaceted, but there is this physical intelligence where you're so dialed into your body, its needs. It's true intelligence. Gustav, we talk about the highs, lows and learnings on this show. Your 2019 70.3 championship title was another epic race. But I think many people overlook the fact that 2 weeks prior, you were on the start line in the World Triathlon Series Grand Final in Lausanne, coming home with, if my memory serves me correctly, 4th place. You went from where everyone was on the top of their game leading into what should have been Tokyo 2020 with that in mind. You went from there, and I think it was only 2 weeks later, you rode a road bike to victory in Nice. And many couldn't believe that. But once again, I don't think you were impressed, but you were very happy. It was almost like, yep, I expected to do well.
It was actually only 8 days between those two races. So yeah, me and Kristian both did a race. Kristian being one of our best mates and my training buddy. So we both had Lausanne as our main goals, and then Nice as our kind of like secondary goal. And I think one of the things I did absolutely right in that week, because Nice was a very hard course to do. It was very challenging. And yeah, the right thing I did was not to train too much, but really practice the course. Because the course there was so different than Daytona. It was up the hills, it was down hills. It was a lot of twists and turns. So going into the race, I went through that course, or the challenging part of the course, maybe 4 times. So I knew like how every corner was. So when the downhill came, I could just relax and then start to regain my fitness until the run. Because I knew the uphill was going to be a huge part of the race. But the downhill, that's where I was going to recover for my run. And I did absolutely that. I rode really hard up the hill, even harder than I planned. But I chilled pretty easily down the hill, following Alistair's wheel. And I felt really in control going down. I had like memorized the whole course, and I felt really good downhill. And when I first started running, I was kind of recovered after the bike ride already. Wow.
And the decision to ride the road bike, was that purely, Gustav, practical because you just come off all your training for the World Triathlon Series, you were familiar with the bike, or the fact that it was so hilly, or that you just didn't have a time trial bike?
I had a time trial bike, but it didn't have any brakes or functioning brakes. And it was really heavy. And my position on the road bike is pretty good, I would say. It's not like optimal for that course, but it's pretty good. It was definitely good enough. And it was just like 8 days and a totally new position to get into a new distance, a new course. So by eliminating one like new factor, I could at least just focus on the course and the distance and not even think about the bike, because I knew that the bike was functioning perfectly.
And, there's a lot of wisdom and intelligence in that, and courage, because many people wouldn't have the courage to execute off that. It'd be playing on there.
In the days going into the race, there was so many questions like, why is this guy riding a road bike? A TT bike is faster. Yeah, I know a TT bike is faster, but not in my position right now. if I was going 100% into that race, yes, I would choose a road bike, but I didn't.
in the end, it shows that you were very intelligent. And off the back of that, you now partner with Giant Bikes, a great partnership, and it's great to see you representing that company so well. The other little nice quirk about that race is, and I know you've told the story many times, is the Taiwanese Hat Story. For listeners that aren't familiar with the Taiwanese Hat Story, Gustav, can you share a little bit about that? Because you wore that cap to victory on the weekend in Daytona as well.
Yeah, so I've done it a few times, but I think this story is so amazing that I never get tired of telling it. So thank you for asking me again, because I really, really love telling it. So it all started with my preparation with the test event in Tokyo before the Olympic test event. I was out running with Kristian and Kaspar and my coach. He was on the bike, of course, not running with us. And we were running around this beautiful mountain with Mount Fuji in the background. It was absolutely stunning scenery. And down on the ground, I just found a hat, and I thought it looked quite cool. So I just took it from the dirt road and started using it. And I asked my Japanese friends what it said, because I thought it was Japanese, of course, finding it in Japan. But they had no idea. So I just started using it. I used it in Nice last year because I wanted to kind of give the middle finger to some of the fully sponsored athletes. And I'm coming there on my road bike. Like, this is my first World Championship. I'm going to show them you don't need this big crew to be able to win. You just need a good setup and good training. When all the other guys were wearing sponsored outfits, sponsored hats, and sponsored everything, I came there with a hat I found on the ground. And I kind of thought, it would be a really cool story if I win with this hat. And yeah, of course, I won with a hat. And I started to get a lot of messages from Taiwan. And I got a YouTube link. That was one of the first time I understand what it said. And I got this 40-minute long interview. Not interview, but a news report from Taiwan. 40 minutes talking about me wearing this hat and the history of the hat and where the hat came from. And the hat was from a temple in Taiwan, in Taichung. And it was so random to watch the whole 40 minutes where they talk non-stop about the history of the temple, my victory, and who I was and everything. It was so unreal. And then my following on Taiwan just skyrocketed. I had 3-4 times as many Taiwanese followers than Norwegian followers on Instagram. And it was just so random, the whole thing.
And the significance of the temple is what? Or was what?
It was not a big temple at all. It was just this random small temple. So I don't know what it meant or what religion it was. It was just this random temple. But the cool thing, the temple was located 50 km from the headquarters of Giant. So that's kind of where my relationship with Giant started. So it was a really cool story there.
As in, Giant saw this news story or started to hear about this?
Yeah, and they watched the race also, being the biggest company in the world. They, of course, knew I was out of the performance as well, but they also thought the whole story with the Taiwanese cap and everything was kind of cool. So then they wanted to sign me.
Wow, that's I didn't realize that last little link in the chain. And so I guess the moral of the story is it does pay to pick up hats you find on the side of the road and wear them.
Yeah, you could say it like that, or just do what you want. If you do what you want, then it's going to be something good coming out of it. And
those stories, I don't think anyone can hear and not smile. And I recall you mentioning to me at Super League in Jersey, circa 2018, or maybe it was early 2019, that there was a batch being run off of those hats because so many people wanted them. Is that still the case? You can pick up Gustav Iden Taiwanese temple hats?
Yeah, the last number I heard was 170,000 of these hats.
And are they available for purchase?
In person, not online. So you have to actually be there at the temple to get one, I think.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't take any profit out of it. Yeah. So just to let you know, yeah.
So they're not through you. You've got to go to the temple and buy a hat.
Yeah, you have to go to the temple. Yeah.
There might be a
that's a part that makes it more special. If everyone just can get it, that is not as special. You have to actually be there to get one. And I think it's still kind of cool.
We're going to tag up images, etc., in the show notes in case anyone post-COVID does want to travel to Taiwan and pick up a hat. Thanks for sharing, Gustav. Gustav, your origins in triathlon. From my understanding, you were a cyclist as a junior. You had aspirations to go on and do great things in the cycling world, dreaming big, winning the Tour de France, etc. But you love running. So you thought, like, I don't want to give this up. How did you get started in the sport of triathlon? What was your first event?
Yeah, you have it right there. I was aspiring cyclist and really wanted to perform there. But my first triathlon was actually really early. I think it was in 2006 when I was only 10 years old. But then I didn't think anymore about it and I didn't do any more triathlons. It was just like a one-time thing because the national championship in triathlon and cycling was at the same place, the same weekend. And my father was just like, yeah, since we're here, we might as well just do everything we can to get most out of the trip. So then I raced there. I don't think I did well. I haven't seen the results. But yeah, I imagine I swam even worse than I do today. So really bad. And I don't know how it went. But then the next race, I think it was in 2011 or maybe before. I don't really remember the years, but I had some few years where I was not doing any triathlons and just cycling and running. So.
And were you performing well running at school, etc.? Like, did you show early promise and signs, or did you show some degree of talent but just a great work ethic?
In triathlon?
In triathlon and cycling?
In cycling, I have always been a big talent, and I've done well since I was started with cycling. And the same with running. I have always been a good runner. I had the national 5K youth record. I think it was 16:09 on a 5K. I don't remember which year, but of course some years later the famous Jakob Ingebrigtsen came and smashed it, absolutely tore down that record. So it's not a good time anymore, but it was pretty decent when I was younger. So yeah, to put it short, I've always been kind of a talent for endurance.
If you had to lose a record, it's not a bad person to lose it to.
No.
That's for sure. Gustav, your relationship with pain, I think of you and I think of it's a tough athlete. I recall at Super League Triathlon that it was pretty evident that you likely had a fractured rib. And I say likely because, you're at a race, you can't run off necessarily and have an MRI to confirm it. You got out there and raced and pushed through it. What would you say is your relationship to pain? What underpins your toughness?
I think pain can be kind of like a different type of pain. I have an example from the race now in Daytona, where coming off the bike, as I guess 100% of the athletes really struggle with my glutes, and it was really kind of cramping up. And that kind of pain is really uncontrollable. If it first grab onto you, then you're kind of doomed. But I also had starting to have blisters under my feet, and that kind of pain was more manageable. So instead of focusing on the pain in my glutes that was really uncontrollable, I just focused my pain receptor over to my blisters underneath my feet, because that was kind of not a nice kind of pain, but at least a manageable kind of pain. So in the end, I was not I didn't feel too bad crossing the finish line. I actually was kind of in control at that point because I managed to disassociate the pain to something else.
So you shifted the pain. When did the pain in the glutes start on the bike? Are we talking 50K into the 80K or?
I didn't actually notice too much while riding. I just find it really hard to be in a position and everything. But the first steps off the bike was absolutely terrible. I mean, when I had the bike in T2, that was okay, when I could run and kind of lean on the bike. But the minute I put the bike up in the rack and had to crawl down to get my shoes, then I just really cramped up, and I had to take 2 takes even to get on my shoes because I was kind of unbalanced, kind of cramping up. So I was struggling to get on my shoes, and then I had to walk for 5 steps, and then a K later it just loosened up and everything was better. But yeah, it was really strange.
It was an observation I made of T2. People that are normally very smooth going out into the run look like they were labouring in a world of pain. I mean, Alistair's, Brownlee's transition, Javier Gomez didn't look like his usual self. There were some, hurt bodies by that stage. Gustav, we've done the top 3 cycling tips. This is triathlon, obviously we're talking through. So top 3 running tips. You are a beautiful technician of the run. You move so smoothly. You're a pleasure to watch. Gustav Iden's top 3 run tips.
I mean, here it's kind of like different than biking. I feel like the bike, you have to have the visual is important because it's pure aerodynamics. But the visual on the run is not a beauty contest. You don't have to look like really... It's hard to tell exactly what is efficient and not when you just look at pictures and videos. Because a really inefficient run stride can actually be quite efficient. So it's really hard to tell by vision. So I don't recommend actually videotaping too much because it can kind of hurt, I don't know how to put it, but kind of like the instinct of running. So I think you can manage your instinct to become a better runner, but the visuals is not always the most important factor to running. But I think to work on a treadmill and not use your energy going up and down, that is a visual you can use. So I guess that's my first tip, is to get on a treadmill, see your position to a fixed point on a wall, and not waste your energy going up and down. All the energy is going one direction and is at the front.
Beautiful. Minimize vertical displacement. Number one. Number two.
Stomach breathing. I think breathing is so overlooked in sports. I've been in the lab so many times, and I really know how much of an impact breathing can do. So to do deep breath and really do hard, deep breath at a rapid pace can bump up your VO2 by so much you won't even understand. It's like extremely important, and it's a really overlooked part of what running is, especially at higher intensity. So I think breathing deep breath with the stomach, that's my second tip.
And quickly to clarify that, Gustav, how do you do that?
You can look in the mirror and like see how the stomach is going up and down, and not too much the chest, because the chest volume is okay, but if you manage to also engage your stomach and really get deep breaths where you can see like the stomach is moving in and out, then I have extremely much or higher volume of breathing.
And are you consciously, I mean, at intensity, are you, or below intensity levels, are you breathing through your nose actively when you train or race?
Actually, no. But I mean, my breathing is so automated now, so I've been practicing for years of how to breathe, so I don't think about it anymore, luckily, because it's a real challenge to do.
Yeah, brilliant. So far, tip one, minimize vertical displacement. Watch how much you're going up and down. Tip two, stomach breathing, particularly at higher intensities. And Gustav Iden's top 3 run tip.
Number 3 is don't be afraid to lean into it. So I see many people are kind of like really aware that you want to be like up high and high rise when running, but they're really afraid to go too much, like lean onwards. And I think if you just watch the African runners, how much leaning they do. So I think that's my tip number 3, because then it's much easier to engage like larger muscles in the glutes and the abs and everything. Yeah. So lean into it.
Lean into it. It's a little bit of your philosophy with racing, I think, too, Gustav. Just lean into it.
Yeah.
Hey, Gustav, we must do your top 3 tips for swimming.
Really? You want to hear my swimming tips?
70.3 world champion.
I guess the same here. It's not a beauty contest. It's about having like powerful, rapid strokes. So my first tip is don't be afraid to have high frequency. I see many people are trying to glide as much as possible. When you come to open water, it's not always the smartest to have like these long, smooth strokes. If someone comes in and interrupt you in the middle of the like group, then it's really hard to regain that catch. So it's good to have like always a new stroke going into the pool. Second is flexibility. You need to be flexible to be a fast swimmer, especially if you want to like improve your technique. Then if you're not flexible enough, then you can just forget to improve your technique, because I guess like the flexibility is the number one limiting factor when it comes to changing your technique. And that's why the technique is as it is now, because you're not flexible enough to change it. So yeah, stretch out, or not only stretch out, but have your own sessions where you like focus on mobility. Number 3, I guess this is also breathing, because breathing is also really important in swimming. And it's much harder to do the stomach breathing during the swim than the run, because of course the stomach has to be engaged to really have like the powerful stroke. So be able to really engage your stroke or the stomach at the stroke at the same time as relaxing enough to be able to breathe. That's a real challenge, and it's something I still work with.
Yeah, they're great tips there, Gustav. And the flexibility, mobility work. So obviously that's something you include through your week is some mobility time. Yeah. Anything you focus on in particular?
Yeah, I know. Like my lats is always really. If I don't move too much, my lats are just like tightening up really fast. So that's something I really have to be conscious about. And if my legs are like tightening up, then my whole stroke is suffering. Not only like the catch, but like the whole way through. So that's something I'm really focusing on.
You're listening to Gustav Iden, 2020 PTO Champion and 2019 70.3 World Triathlon Champion, sharing on his career highs, lows, and learnings. Support for today's show comes from Endure IQ. If you're ready to step up and take control of your training and performance goals, check out Endure IQ. Whether you're an athlete or coach, Endure IQ aims to empower you with the knowledge, tools, and strategies to optimize your sports performance. Founded by Dr. Dan Plews, who you may remember from episode 213, Heat Training and Acclimation for the Endurance Athlete. And remember, Dan Plews holds the Hawaii Ironman World Triathlon Championship world record for the fastest age group finish in history at 8:24 on a sizzling day in 2018. Endure IQ brings you online courses in the practical application of low carbohydrate, high fat, training fundamentals, and heat strategies. To get you started, Endure IQ will gift you $25 towards your first Endure IQ purchase. Simply use the coupon code BRADBEER, all capitals, one word, at the checkout. Information is useful, but knowing how to use it is powerful. Endure IQ hitting the sweet spot of performance, health, and enjoyment. Visit endurieiq.com. Support for today's show also comes from the Physical Performance Show's very own Learnings membership, where from just $5 per month, you can support the show through Patreon and in return receive free access to our catalogue of live stream events, including all upcoming live stream events. And in 2020, we hosted very popular live stream events with Dr. Shona Halson, Recovery Essentials for Optimal Performance, and of course, Dr. Stephen Seiler, Sustainable Training for Attainable Endurance Goals. To support the show, jump over to Patreon and just search the Physical Performance Show. And of course, as always, support for the show comes from Pogo Physio's online telehealth consultations. If you are an endurance athlete struggling with a bone, tendon, or joint-related concern, our 45-minute online award-winning telehealth consults can help get you back to your physical best. Simply jump over to pogophysio.com.au/telehealth. For now, let's jump back with this week's featured performer, 2019 70.3 World Triathlon Champion and now 2020 PTO Champion, Norwegian triathlete Gustav Iden. Gustav, before we throw into a physical performance round, some rapid fire questions. Strength and conditioning, you just mentioned the role of mobility. What about strength and conditioning?
For me personally, we tried it, but it didn't really work. Of course it worked. I got so strong. I was like amazed by how fast I got so much stronger. And I did like these pull-ups with a lot of additional weights, and I was just like feeling like a machine in the weight room. And I thought like, okay, now I got like the beach body going on. But then I went to the pool, no change. I had like absolutely no improvements, even though I was stronger. I wasn't able to translate the strength in the weight room to pure swim speed. And that's like the only thing that matters. Is the strength training going to improve my swim speed? And even with like a lot of testing, it did not improve anything. So we used a lot of time on it. We understand it didn't work. So we just, trashed it.
And lower limbs?
Of course. What?
Any translation to your biking and running?
No. And the strength was really focused on the pure swimming muscle. So It was purely upper body. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Gustav, are you ready for the physical performance round? Rapid fire questions coming your way. You're in home quarantine. You can chalk this up as a sessions. Question 1, training session most disliked.
Most disliked training session. fast swims because I'm really slow, and it breaks my confidence.
Breaks your confidence as in the moment, or is that something you really struggle with?
In the swim, it's like an ongoing thing. As a person in general, I'm really confident. When it's like the specific confidence in the swim, not too much.
Training session most loved?
Long sessions uphill in Sierra Nevada, like maybe 6 times 10 minutes threshold.
And there's been some pretty epic photos that people can see on your Instagram gallery of yourself and your Norwegian counterparts, Kasper Stornes, Kristian, Blummenfelt, etc., running through the ice on the track at times. Yeah, that's up at Sierra Nevada, isn't it? It's quite the scenery. Favorite pre-race meal? What's your routine like there?
Bread with Nutella. It's a classic. It's like this, not full grain, like almost as like white as possible with Nutella.
Did you manage that before Daytona?
For sure. Yeah. Always.
And a generous serving of Nutella, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Bedtime, morning time in a hard training block. You're pretty disciplined with that?
Right now, I am so jet lagged. So I think I fell asleep like at 2 in the morning yesterday. But normally, I'm pretty good with having enough sleep. So I guess like from 10 to 7, I'm at sleep. Yeah.
So that means you're not in the pool early. You know, it's not a 5 a.m.
No, we had it before, but when we don't need to train early in the pool, I prefer not to, because I feel like the body is not really that able to perform in the morning. I thought I was like a morning person, but I realized I'm actually not.
Yeah. And at such young years, it's great to have that realization. The recovery scientists would certainly give you a hats off to that one. Gustav, who's the athlete you most admire and why?
I think I would have to say my teammate Kristian Blummenfelt, because he just do everything right all the time, and it's really inspiring to train with him.
Yeah, and we have featured Kristian in the past, your counterpart there, so be sure to jump over the show notes and listen into Kristian's episode as well. Toughest competitor you've ever raced, who's that and why?
I think I would have to say Vincent Lewis. He is extremely slow, like dominant on the shorter things. Like he won all the sprints and all the races this year for the World Series and World Cups. And like Super League is so dominant, and being like a short course athlete, and the short course is where I want to perform the most, I would have to say he's the toughest guy to beat.
Yeah, prior featured guest. And mantra when you race, Gustav, have you got a mantra? Regular self-talk.
I would say winning is a choice. It's not like one choice, it's a series of choices, but winning is a choice is kind of like something I say to myself. So you can either take this choice now and be able to win, or you can, take the choice to not be able to win, but then you have to blame yourself for it.
Yeah, you choose. You did issue me with an ultimatum and said you wouldn't do this interview unless I won the National Masters road race that I took part in cycling yesterday, and I didn't. I came 15th. So
we ending this podcast now.
I didn't choose to win, but that's brilliant. And like so much in life, it's a choice. Your best recovery tip?
Nutrition, I guess, is really important. But I think. I have one more answer, if it's possible to say 2 answers.
Please.
And it is intensity control. So to not go too hard during the session, because if you already went too hard, then it's impossible to recover anyway. So then it's like, why even try to recover, because you're not going to be able to do it.
And as you said, one of the underpinnings of your training philosophy and your squad, your coaches, is the volume as well, and that intensity control allows for that higher volume. Prior featured performer, former World Triathlon 1991 champion, CEO of Triathlon Australia, Miles Stewart, recently shared, Gustav, that his training philosophy used to be hard, slow, and lots of it.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Gustav, your worst injury?
My worst injury, I have been so fortunate that I almost have never been injured. But
the rib?
The rib, yeah, kind of like that's actually one of my worst injuries ever, like fractured rib, and it wasn't even that bad. It was only extremely painful, especially to race Super League with it and then go straight to altitude where you had to breathe a lot. That was painful. But I guess that's actually one of my worst injuries.
Yeah, and there's photos of you with it taped up, so we'll put that up in the show notes as well, and we'll publish that on the Physical Performance Show Instagram gallery. One word to describe your racing style.
Smart.
How would you describe being in the zone?
Confident, I guess. Confident.
Wow. When was the last time you were in the zone? I'm presuming the weekend.
Yeah, in Daytona.
Yeah. Come on. And finally, Gustav, your fellow Norwegian world-acclaimed scientist, Stephen Seiler, well known for his polarized training philosophies and literature. He says that epic training sessions don't make champions. The consistent training does. But what would you say is the hardest training session you've ever done?
It was one of the last sessions leading into Daytona. And it was kind of like a session to test me what I would be able to do on race day. And the session was 1 hour on 280, 1 hour on 320 power on a turbo. And on a turbo, I really hate it. I am so struggling on a turbo. And then it was 48 minutes on the treadmill at 19.2 k's an hour.
Wow, that is a session and a half. And was this how far out from the race?
This was 2 weeks before the race.
Yeah. Did you do it solo?
Yeah, all indoors by myself. And it was absolutely terrible. I was struggling a lot on the run. And I was actually kind of cheating because I was starting the run at 19.2 k an hour and I had 0 incline on it. And I was like supposed to work myself into it and have my standard 1.8% incline. But I was not able to rise it. I tried for like 2 minutes at like 1%, but I was not in a state of managing it. So I just took it down to 0% again. So totally flat.
Gosh. And by the way, you're out of the performance round, so well done. So what percentage of your running might be on a treadmill week to week?
I recently bought a treadmill this year. So before I basically did everything outside. But being from Bergen, Norway, the weather here is challenging sometimes. And to do like these hard quality brick sessions, I kind of need that treadmill. But I'm not a treadmill person and 100% would go out every day if the weather allows it. But for now, a normal week for me, I say 2 out of 7 sessions indoors.
You're listening to Gustav Iden on this, a feature performer episode, sharing on his career highs, lows, and learnings to date. If you missed last week's episode, it was another feature performer by way of Australian, Olympic and professional cyclist Rachel Neylan. It's been a very popular episode with many people commenting on the inspiring journey that Rachel undertook at 25 years of age to pursue her Olympic dream. Here's a little snippet of my conversation with Rachel Neylan.
I never forget my first women's Tour de France race on the Champs-Élysées in 2014. It was one of the first races that Brad came over for. And I remember him saying to me, and I was incredibly nervous, and because we're wearing it was a national team race, so I was wearing the green and gold, and I was racing on the Champs. And it was a circuit style race, so I knew it was going to be full gas and hard and technical and fast, from the gun. And he said, Rach, give yourself to the race.
To enjoy the full episode, jump over to wherever it is that you enjoy your podcast from, and also now our YouTube channel, The Physical Performance Show. And don't forget, if you're enjoying the show, to hit subscribe to ensure each week The Physical Performance Show lands in your earbuds. For now, let's jump back with this week's feature performer, episode 249, Gustav Iden. Gustav Iden, you are young and fresh in years, just 24 under the belt. If you could boil everything you've learnt to date, starting really endurance sports at circa 10 years of age, into one piece of advice to help listeners of this show which range from coaches to practitioners to athletes of all levels, to perform at their best, what would be your one piece of advice?
Wow, that's a hard question. One piece of advice. It's like, it depends on if you want to become a champion or if you want to become like fit. If you want to become a champion, I think my like race advice is also possible to use here. Like, winning is a choice. And just ask yourself, like, everything you do throughout a day. Just look at your like daily schedule and you see, is this a choice that I can make to become world champion? Yes or no? And then you just do the things you think you can make yourself a world champion. So just like analyze every choice you take during the day and ask yourself, like, is this choice something a champion would do? And then you can like figure out if the answer is right afterwards. Like, you can be wrong, but if you think it's the right thing, I think you already come a long way. And
just on that, practically, can you share an example of a daily choice that you might use that filter with, where is it regarding fueling or doing mobility when you're tired and want to lay on the couch, or what? Yeah, for me, I was at least struggling before with going to bed early enough, and I just love like scrolling on my phone. Like, the phone is so addictive. Instagram, like, you're first in there, you're kind of like scrolling for hours. It was hard for me to put that down, but then I just realized, okay, sleep is so important that this choice is a really bad choice to keep scrolling. And then just like put down the phone and go to sleep and just do everything you can to become the champ you want to be. And of course, fueling. Fueling is so important, like the recovery, nutrition and everything. Yeah, it's just a really nice way of breaking down, because I guess at the end of the day, what we do or don't achieve in our domains is just a series of choices. Yeah. And then you made the distinction there about the difference between your advice for being a champion versus being fit. Would you throw anything there into being fit? Single piece of advice for listeners being fit? It's so much. Then you can do what you want, I think. That it doesn't really matter that half an hour extra sleep or going the extra mile every single day. I mean, it's still like a lifestyle choice and you still want to do the right things, but every single day is not that important. If you want to be a champ, this winning is a choice. It's every single day. It's like no exemptions every single day. So being fit, it's like you can do it mostly, but if you don't want to do it, like sometimes, it's okay. You're still going to be a fit athlete. Yeah, no, that's intuitive, makes sense, and that's really great as a single piece of advice there. And Gustav, excellent. Every guest of the show issues listeners with a physical challenge for the week. You have a great work ethic, so I'm a little intrigued as to what Gustav Iden's physical challenge to listeners of the show is going to be. I think I misunderstood like the physical challenge thing. Something I actually love doing, and it's really hard physical challenge, but it kind of demands some nature to do it, is find like a downhill, a technical downhill on the run, and run as fast as you can downwards. That's something I really love to do. It's so challenging for the mind, for like the coordination and everything. You have to be so focused to do it, but it's still not dangerous to do any mistakes. If you fall, it's not like if you fall on the bike, but it's still extremely challenging, and it gets the adrenaline pumping. And I think it's really good for your running training also, to really push downhill and really try to challenge yourself mentally. So next run that people have where they come across a good downhill, take the Gustav Iden physical challenge for the week and give it full gas down the hill. But not if it's like tarmac, then it's kind of more hurtful and helpful. Then it can be really hard for the joints. So I recommend going into the nature to try to do it. But I'm aware that so many people are not living in Norway and have like these beautiful mountains right by your doorstep. So if you can, get out there in nature, and if you can't, then still take it on, but just be wary. Gustav, well done. Something I'm intrigued about you touched on, and that's confidence as a person. You mentioned this came up off the back of your swimming comments. It's something that you have to work on, is your ongoing confidence in that discipline. But as a person, from the outside looking in, you come across as just confident in your ability, very calm, you have fun with it as well. And anyone can read into that a little bit of gamesmanship. But it's not a sense of arrogance. It's just a sense of this is who I am. I know I've prepared well. I'm going to have some fun with it. But where does that confidence come from? Is that innate in you, or is it learned?
I don't think it's learned, because for as far as I remember, people have kind of say, Gustav, you're too arrogant. But I never seen myself as arrogant. I just see myself as confident. And I try to explain the difference. No, I'm just really confident in myself. And I think it's something that I've been lucky to have my whole life, basically. Then it's hard to give a choice about how you can become confident as well, because I haven't learned it. It's just something that's always been there.
And I'd have to say that innate confidence is, because you can learn it. You can be an anxious person, lacking in confidence and overanalyzing, and you can improve or manage that as part of people's personalities. But when it comes to the champions, of which you're in that league, a world champion, where the small margins make a difference, it's an observation I've made often on the sidelines in my professional work as a sports physio, and that's there's a level of calmness and confidence that the champions exhibit, whereas other athletes are often panicking, racing around, frantically getting prepared. I think it's a prerequisite. Would you agree? It's a prerequisite for success?
Both yes and no. I mean, in my preparation, I'm really calm, and I think I do everything right. But still, I get the same nervousness before the race. And even though I can look calm on outside, I'm always extremely nervous before the big races, because I know what I'm capable of, but I'm not sure if I'm able to take the right choices to end there this day. So even though I know I'm in extremely good shape, then kind of it makes it worse even, because then I know I have the ability to win. So if I'm not winning this, it's just come down to making bad choices. And that makes me even more nervous, because then I have more on the line during race day. So for example, going into Super League, where you were the physio, helping me out with a broken rib. I wasn't as nervous before the start, because I know my fitness was not good at all. And I know my chances to winning were not existent, because my fitness was so low. So no matter how many good choices I did during the race, I was not able to win anyway. So then I was not nervous, because no matter what I did, I'm not able to win anyway. So it was kind of there only to have fun.
And for a race like Daytona, where you knew you were in good shape, the expectation was a bit higher, or a lot higher, and therefore the nerves kick in, because it's I know I'm fit, but I want to execute.
Yeah. Especially Daytona, I was extremely nervous, and not only race day, but just going through the race in my head, leading into the race, visualizing the whole thing. I got extremely nervous just visualizing it. So I knew at least I have my emotion in it. This is not something I do because I get some money out of it. It's really, really much emotion in it, and I love winning. I love competing. And I'm not hate losing, so I'm not there, but I really love winning.
And it shows, and winning is a choice, so you choose well. Just managing those nerves, though, Gustav, just quickly and practically, because so many people listening will relate to that nervous energy on the start line. Any practical tips on how people can best manage that? Because it's a case of managing it.
I am not the right person to ask, because I actually vomit so many times before the races, because I get so nervous.
Wow.
And it's really bad, because it's really hard for me to place where the nervousness comes from. So it's not something I can just talk myself out of. So even though I'm confident, I'm calm, sometimes the nervousness just comes out of nothing. And 5 minutes later, I'm on the toilet puking, because the nervousness just hit me as a truck. But I think the thing I have learned is to accept it, that the nerves will come. I probably will puke, and I have managed to find a game plan to have nutrition, and especially hydration afterwards, and a toothbrush. So to just I know it will come, I accepted it, and I prepared to overcome it, and then at least make me more calm during when the nervousness comes.
Versus worried. Well, there's something unique, and I do recall as a junior getting so nervous, I felt like I'd lost all strength in my body and I couldn't even get on the start line. I'm like, I can't do this.
My tips for junior is just like, even though so many people look calm and collected and really ready to be able to perform, inside the head, it could be totally different.
Yeah.
And I'm actually amazed by how I look before a race, because inside I feel so nervous and just like a train wreck. But on the pictures, I look like almost cool. Like almost I look like this star being able to perform. But that's absolutely not the case. So all the juniors out there, just accept you being nervous. It's totally okay. Even I get it. And I've been in this sport for not too many years, but at least some years, and I should be able to do something about it. And even I don't manage. So yeah, just stay calm. It's okay.
Well, that's very reassuring. It must be the Norwegian heritage, the Iceman, calm on the outside.
Yeah.
Gustav, the big races upcoming. We're just about the end of 2020 as we record. Tokyo 2020 didn't happen. Tokyo 2021 is slated to be happening. And you finished fourth. Let's not lose sight of fourth in the Tokyo test event in the heat there in 2019. So obviously the preparation starts to begin and your focus is now towards Tokyo 2021, the Olympic Games.
For sure. So the Olympic Games has been my focus for, I guess now, almost the last 3 years, where we have really worked specifically for this one race. And it was kind of a bummer to have it postponed for 1 year, but it didn't really change my mindset and everything. I'm still ready to perform there. And now with the coronavirus, our desired preparations is not going to be as planned, because we have planned to go to Thailand. It could be challenging to get in there because Thailand is kind of strict with lockdown and everything. So our preparation will be slightly different than what we planned, but still I think we will be able to have the best preparation going into Tokyo next year. And the fourth place last year, I was actually really surprised because my general shape, my general fitness was not too great going in there. I struggled on some sessions and I struggled performing as well as I should have on training. But since my heat prep was so absolutely perfect and we really nailed that heat prep, I still able to come fourth. So have a higher general fitness going into the real deal next year and the same heat prep. I think podium and victory is within reach.
Well, Gustav, you have shown that you can execute on the biggest stages, underpinned by this philosophy, winning is a choice. So we certainly wish you all the best in the journey ahead, the next 12 months and beyond. And thank you for your contribution to the Physical Performance Show.
Thank you for having me. It was a great chat.
And enjoy quarantine if you can. I know you can't swim at the moment, so you'll be pacing up and down the hallway.
Swimming in rain outside here in Bergen, so it's okay.
Thanks again, Gustav.
Thank you.
So there you have it, another episode of the Physical Performance Show, and I trust and I know you took some real gems and learnings from Gustav's sharings today. We've linked up some of Gustav's victories and his 2019 Bermuda podium with his fellow Norwegian teammates over at the show notes, pogophysio.com.au/podcast. So be sure to jump over and enjoy some of those clips. Also, be sure to be following the show over on social at Physical Performance Show on Instagram. Keep the podsies coming. That's a screenshot of the episode that you're enjoying and tagging in the show at Physical Performance Show. Now, if you take on the physical challenge for the week and run full gas down a hill, preferably in nature, as Gustav shared, then do tag Gustav in on social as well at Gustav_Iden, IDEN. Now, as you heard, we've launched the Physical Performance Show's Learnings membership, where from just $5 per month, you can support the production of the show and also receive free access to our entire catalogue of live stream events. And in 2021, we're set to continue to bring you learnings around pursuing your physical best performance with some fantastic live stream speakers planned. It's simple to support the show. Jump over to patreon.com and search for the Physical Performance Show. And a massive thanks to the patrons that have gotten behind the show to date. Of course, a huge thank you to today's show sponsor, Endure IQ. If you are an endurance athlete, a triathlete looking to perform at your physical best, then you cannot go past Endure IQ's online courses. Dr. Dan Plews, founder of Endure IQ, knows his stuff. As mentioned before, Dr. Dan Plews holds the age group world record for the fastest finish at the Hawaii Ironman World Triathlon Championships, a blistering 8:24. So jump over to endureiq.com and be sure to use the coupon code BRADBEER, all one word, lowercase, to receive $25 off your first online course. A massive thanks to the great folk who make the show possible each and every week, including right throughout the 2020 calendar year. The team has remained the same from episode 1, which featured Surf Lifesaving Ironman champion Ali Day, Daryl Misson, audio engineer Susan Wilkin, all things show administration, and Matthew Olding, all things show graphic design. And well, we arrived here, the end of 2020. What a bumpy year it has been. Obviously, many folk around the world have been challenged, as we all have in different ways. And hopefully, throughout the year, we've all been able to continue pursuing our physical best, as what for many of us will have been somewhat of a coping strategy. In the coming weeks, we'll be publishing the best of feature performers and the best of expert editions here on the show. I want to say a massive thank you to those that have supported the show through listening this year. We've amassed 555,000 downloads of the show in 2020, with 1.4 million downloads of the show since inception in 2016. So a huge thank you to you for tuning in. Now we're going to be kicking off 2021 with some stellar expert editions. Kicking off the year, we'll have Inigo Mojica around all things how to taper to get your best physical performance. Inigo is a world leader in recovery and sports performance, one of Dr. Shona Halson's research colleagues, and you will take a heap of learnings from Inigo's sharings in the new year. So be sure to be tuning in for the best of editions and also into the 2021 calendar year. Thanks for a great year and for supporting the show. Merry Christmas. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.